Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we're going to be taking a look at my boy Sabin, Final Fantasy VI. I went in, I got the FR. I don't know if I'm going to say what I did, but we'll just say I was creative and I was able to get my FR maxed out. So I do have the FR maxed out, but I had to be very creative. So we'll put it this way. The next time I pull for an FR that I actually intend on maxing, I'm going to need dupes. The power stones are a struggle right now, so I'm definitely going to need dupes next time. But anyways, in this video, we're going to take a look at Sabin's calls first, and then we're going to go ahead and look at his artifacts, his spheres, and then just do a quick little showcase, show you how he works. So Sabin's call, I guess I would say, is somewhat relevant. His first call here is the Razor Gale Plus. So this is going to do wind and holy damage, but the big thing with it, it's just an on-demand 2-turn delay. So if you need a delay call, this is really good, and this is a low invest call. So like if let's say you didn't pull for Sabin, like you literally just have to crystal level him up, I believe, to 80, and then you just get access to his base call. So just if you need an on-turn or like an on-demand delay, or for some reason if you need the wind holy damage for just like one hit, you can use it for that. And then the LD call doesn't delay anything, but it does do that wind holy damage again to the enemies. And I should also mention that the first call also imperils to wind and holy, so if you need that also, like if you just need an imperil, that helps too. This one here, the LD call, is actually going to give the caller a 40% attack up, and then an HP damage overflow stolen up, which is good as well, right? So it's not the worst call, like it's definitely decent and usable. The only thing is like, if it doesn't actually enchant, which, you know, a lot of times with elements you want to enchant, so it doesn't do that. And the other thing is if you want, like, just for the delay, you're better off bringing someone like Quistis that's going to, like, maybe delay on both of them. There's actually a few characters I think have, like, delay on both of the calls. So it just depends. But depending on what you have for calls we have access to, it can be handy to have that 2-turn delay. So I definitely could see some use for that, right? So in terms of the rest of Sabin's kit, let's go ahead and look at the spheres and artifacts. So let's hop in here. I am rocking the Ultima gloves here as well. My Sabin is pretty much full invest. The only thing I haven't gone in on is the blue armor. But everything else for Sabin is fairly maxed out here. So we're going to go ahead and look at the artifacts. Sabin's kind of interesting in that part of his kit, like everything he does has defense ignore, which means attack isn't as important on him as it is on other characters since he is ignoring defense anyways. But attack is still relevant, like you still want it, but it maybe doesn't have as high of importance. I would say Sabin, he's an older character, so you just want to go the basic attack 108, max brave 330. If you're really crazy for attack, you could do attack 108 and buff attack up, but I think on Sabin, the max brave is actually a little bit more valuable on him. I could even see the justification for going for like a max brave 330 and an I brave just to get more brave gain, and focus more on just letting his defense ignore work and not as much on the attack. So I could see some justification for that as well. So it's totally up to you, right? And then let's go ahead and look at the spheres. Now, keeping in mind, he's got triple A slots, right? So he's totally like a damage dealer. Normally, we would want to go like attack or brave damage, right? Or you'd want to go like physical attack, maybe on a character like this. Or actually, no, Sabin's got like magic attacks, actually. So you could technically use magic attack. Yeah, his attacks are actually magic damage, which you wouldn't think of, but he is doing like, you know, the aura cannon's like a big Kamehameha or something, right? Like energy blast, ki blast. So yeah, he's actually a magic damage dealer. But anyways, with Sabin, attack is still relevant, but not as important, which I feel like on the A slot then, I would heavily value brave damage. I feel like brave damage up is like probably his best stat you can give him here. And Sabin does weakness damage, right? So I actually feel like 7, who, what a coincidence, 7 is out right now. I don't remember if 7's refinable or not. Not every co-op has refinable, but 7, if it's not refinable now, could be refinable maybe in the next event. But this is actually, I think 7's got a very ideal sphere for Sabin, because it's when you're doing weakness damage, it increases your brave damage by 10% for the full sphere. It is stackable, so I stacked a refined one and a regular one. So Sabin's getting 14% brave damage up while dealing weakness damage. So that's going to be very, very good for him. The other one I don't recommend as much. It's just his own. Raises Max Brave, which Max Brave I would say is actually a little bit more valuable on Sabin, just like I said, because he does defense ignore. But I would rather put just like another 7 sphere there, right? Or another brave damage one. Jack is one I recommend. Rydia is one I would recommend, just because it has brave damage and attack on it. He has weakness damage, so you could get away with Rydia here if you've got him. All I know is the next time Rydia comes back, I'm going to refine like 20 of those, because I mention Rydia all the time, and it's a sphere I really like. Now, somebody made a comment in one of my videos like, oh, why don't you talk about Sephiroth sphere, or why don't you talk about so-and-so sphere? That's a good sphere. Just because I don't talk about them doesn't mean they're not good. The A spheres, literally, you guys, there are just so many of them, I could go through them for days, right? So, basically with A sphere, I just say, look at these stats, look at your box, see what you've got. There's so many attack increasing A spheres. There's so many brave damage ones, right? So you look, just make sure you can trigger it and just find attack or brave damage in there. There's lots of good ones other than the ones I mentioned. The reason why I mentioned Rydia, Jack, characters like that so much is because they have brave damage and attack with them. So that's just very relevant that it's getting like the 2 stats you want, right? And then I mentioned like specific weakness spheres or maybe range damage spheres because they're more specific. But it doesn't mean other generic A spheres that do like attack aren't good. There's just so many good ones out there. I just can't always mention them all, right? So just keep that in mind. But like I said, Sabin, if you really want to max this guy out, go brave damage. I really like 7. I think Jack or Rydia would be fine there as well. Once again, look for other brave damage you have in your box. You could have more. There are other characters that have that, right? All right, so let's go ahead and hop in. And I'm running a very specific team comp here because I kind of want to show off how we can maybe make Sabin's FR work. Sabin's FR is basically you have to deal holy and wind damage to get the full effect, but it's 60%. So if you can hit both, which Sabin himself is always hitting that because he's always got both. But to get another character to hit it, you'd have to enchant them for both elements. So I'm going to attempt to do that in this video. We'll see if it works out or not, but we'll just jump in and give it a try. Sabin's actually a very easy character to play. I would say very simple character to play, but he's a very good and effective, I would darn near say an underrated character. I've always really liked Sabin. I feel like people don't talk about him enough. I think sometimes it might just go under the, underrated how good defense ignore is. Defense ignore is crazy. Like, you're always going to be hitting like really good numbers unless it's like straight up brave damage reduction the enemies have, which sometimes they do. But we can do a lot of good things with Sabin. Now, a couple of things I just want to open up with Sabin. He's got some buffs and things that we need to look at. So let's go ahead here and look at him. So he's got this Battle Spirit Unleashed, and it is a stacking buff that starts at 4 stacks. Now, this is going to decrease each turn, and if it goes below 3 stacks, then he's going to lose the plus versions of his attacks. So basically, that buff with 3 stacks is giving him the plus versions. You always want to keep that up. Well, what you're going to do with this guy is you're going to get his LD buff up. And his LD buff is basically going to allow that not to matter. Like, you're just always going to have it. The other thing with Sabin is it's pretty easy to not lose your stacks anyways, because like a bunch of his attacks just increase the stacks anyways. So it's something you really don't have to worry about too much. But with Sabin, I do kind of like hopping in and going in on the LD right away. We'll use the AA just to use it. The AA does like give him 4 stacks of that buff right away. So for some reason, if it falls off, he'll just get those stacks right away. And then just gives him, some generic buffs that you'd get from an AA. So put it on when you can. So let's go ahead and do the LD. Actually, let's go ahead and pop this first. Sure, let's pop that. Get some debuffs on the enemy. Perfect. All right, so now Sabin, let's do the LD. This is Tiger Break. It's only 3 skill uses, but because of the way that it operates, you really only need to use it once, and the buff should pretty much get upkept. So let me explain just kind of what we had happen there. So first of all, he did a Wind Holy attack. Now, one thing I guess I should just say in general, pretty much all of his attacks have some things in common. So his LD, his EX, his 15, his 35, they all ignore defense, all do Holy and Wind. So they all have that in common. So he's always getting that, right? Now, with his LD specifically, oh, the other thing they all do is they all imperil the enemies to Wind and Holy. So literally almost any button he presses, you're getting Wind, Holy, Imperil, you're getting Defense Ignore, You're getting the wind holy damage. Like, you're just getting all of that, right? So it's kind of crazy. The really good thing, too, about a character having multiple elements is if the enemy, say, absorbs holy, right? If you do holy damage, even if they're weak to it, the enemy would still gain brave, so it's not good. But if you're dual wielding elements, if they're weak to one and absorbing the other, the weakness takes over. So because Sabin's always hitting multiple enemy elements, and he's always imperiling to both of those elements, he basically can't get locked out unless the enemy locks out both elements, right? So if the enemy, say, absorbs holy, Sabin's wind weakness damage will override that, and he'll still do good damage. So that's actually really cool. It used to be, back in the day, multiple elements used to be a hindrance, because if the enemies resisted or absorbed just one of them, it would lock out everything on the character. So it's really nice that they kind of changed that and kind of gave that weakness override, which is really, really good, right? Now back to the LD. He's going to get a Fighting Tiger buff, and then that Battle Spirit Unleashed. That's that first buff I showed you. It just resets that back to 4 turns, right? And then once again does the Imperil. But the Fighting Tiger buff, we need to talk about that, because that's a very important buff. So it's just a 5-turn buff here, right? So you're going to think, well, that's going to drop off really fast. But when we look at what this buff actually does, so that first buff to that Battle Spirit, it just gives him attack and max brave up. Very, very good. And then allows him to have the plus versions of his attacks, which is good. But this buff, Fighting Tiger, one thing is it makes it so his Battle Spirit stacks do not decrease. So that's the first thing. It's going to keep that max, and you're always going to have the plus version of your skills. So basically, you don't even have to worry about upkeeping that, right? Now, the other thing that it does, which is really, really crazy on this buff, is he's going to get attack, he's going to get, back on Fighting Tiger. He gets attack up, yep, and he gets overflow up, he gets HP damage up, and then a 30% elemental weakness damage up. But the really cool thing that it does is anytime you attack an enemy that is broken or you break an enemy, it extends its own buff and that Battle Spirit buff by 1 turn. So literally, as long as Sabin is attacking a broken target or breaks a target, his buffs never run out. So literally, you pop this at the beginning of the turn and you've just got it, and you're free to do what you want. The only time you can get caught with this is if they do, and it's pretty rare that they do it, but sometimes they do this to feature like critical damage characters, is sometimes enemies will have like a brave floor where they can't be broken. When enemies can't be broken, then it's a problem, and you might not want to bring Sabin to that fight, because he can definitely like run his buffs out and he's not nearly as effective. But in like 99% of fights, you can break enemies. You're pretty much going to be smooth sailing. And the nice thing is with Sabin, even if the enemy's super tanky, you're probably going to break him because he's ignoring defense. So he's got a really nice kit. And I think he just gets overlooked because there are other like huge meta characters that overshadow him. But he's just always a really nice character. Gets a little bit overlooked, but you can definitely put in some work with Sabin, right? So anyways, all that's the LD. So the big thing to remember, just open with it. And then as long as you're attacking the broken targets or you're breaking them, everything's upkept and you're good to go, right? So now we'll more talk about what else do his attacks do, what else is going on here, right? So let's go ahead and get Machina going here. So my goal here is I'm going to get Sabin's force time up. I might do a couple of attacks with Sabin during the force, but I want to actually try to feature Machina and see if I can take full advantage of Sabin's force, because one of the big criticisms is that his force isn't very easy to use. And I would agree with that. It's not the most convenient, and you got to have the right calls to do it. But we'll just give it a shot here and see how it does in this video. Okay, so we've got Luna Freya up. So what I think I'm going to do with Luna Freya is I think I'm just going to go charge crazy here and maybe use her LD. So let's just pop one of these, because I do want to get up to Sabin's force time relatively quickly here. So we're going to pop that. And I do want to do some like regular attacks with Sabin too. So let's go and pop this. This is going to give her some free turns. Going to give Machina some free turns. Just kind of extend things out a little bit. Just kind of naturally get into our force time while we go ahead and maybe break these enemies a little bit. Yep, we'll pop another one of these because it's free. Alright, and then we'll just start popping some regular attacks here. I'm not going to go all the way to max here, because I want to show off a couple of Sabin's regular moves before I like go crazy and do the force time. But just kind of want to get things started here. And Sabin now does have the heavy buff, right? So he's going to be looking pretty good with this heavy buff on. I'm going to make it a point not to use Diamond Dust, because I don't want to enchant for ice here. The one thing you have to be careful with, if you're trying to set up for a Sabin force, basically the idea is you either want to set up so Sabin himself is taking most of the attacks, which you could do that with like a quick prayer and give him a bunch of turns. Or you want to make sure you have a non-elemental character that you're going to enchant for Wind and Holy, but you can't pre-enchant them with something else. You don't want to put them in a situation where they can't have that overridden. So I'm just going to, for safety reasons, not enchant for Ice here. Although he might be able to carry all 3 elements. They kind of change how that works over time, but I'm just going to leave her as is, and I'm going to try to enchant through the calls here. Let's go ahead and do this BT effect here. Get Lunafreya going and looking really good. And then we'll let Machina take some turns, and then we'll go into Sabin. But while these other characters are going, I can kind of talk about his kit a little bit, and then we'll actually demo those attacks. But the reason why I like Sabin, you know, some characters just feel like they have like dead buttons to press. Sabin, like every button for him has a purpose, and they all feel like very good buttons to press. And that's something that I've always been very impressed with Sabin, right? So his 15 is Aura Cannon. It doesn't do the most crazy amount of damage, but what it does that I really, really like is it's like a really good party battery. And it ignores defense as well. But the fact that he just has a really nice party battery in his back pocket, I really, really like that. So it's really nice to have that on-demand battery, right? And then his 35, which is Razor Gale, that attack is really busted. We'll go ahead and pop this off here with Machina. Oh no, I did his actual burst. Oh my gosh. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I'm just going to like speed through this. That's going to mess up everything because I was going to go into Machina's burst phase. That's fine. I meant to just do the burst attack. I knew I was going to do this at some point in a video. I was just waiting for the day for me to accidentally go into full burst phase instead of doing the burst attack. Sure, it'll happen, right? It'll happen right here. Anyways, the reason why Razor Gale is so good, and here I'm just going to literally, here, I'm just going to pop through this really quick. Yeah, even with his follow-up, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but that's fine. This will at least get his burst effect up, which I do want, but I just meant to do the burst attack. But Razor Gale Plus is awesome because it is an AoE two-turn delay, which is very powerful, right? We have a lot of characters that can delay, but to AoE delay for 2 turns, that's pretty rare. So I really like that he's got delay in his kit, he's got elemental damage, he's got Imperil, he's got battery, he's got defense ignore. Like, Sabin really does do a lot. And what you're going to see in this video, he can actually output some decent numbers if you are willing to invest in him, right? So we'll kind of take a look at the numbers as we go through here. But yeah, Machina just getting greedy, wanting to burst phase like immediately there. And he had quick prayer on, so he really didn't need it. He already had like a million turns. So sure, I guess we're going to Furious Blades burst. Why not? And it's not really a big deal because I'm not looking to show like how much damage we can do during the force. I just want to see if we can get the percentages we want on the gains, right? Okay, so Lunafreya now, I'm just going to go ahead and just do a regular attack here because I want to have Sabin get just like a couple of turns before I go into the force time, right? Okay, so let's talk about some of his other attacks. So one thing he gets from the LD is he does get a free skill use. 99% of the time, you want to use that free skill use on Razor Gale, right? So watch when we hit Razor Gale here. It's going to do a fat 2-turn delay. So we're going to get the break delay, and then we're going to get a 2-turn delay. So you see the enemies just shot back there. So basically, it ignores defense, 2-turn delay, upkeeps that Battle Spirit buff, which we talked about at the beginning. Doesn't really matter because he's always going to be increasing the stacks of it because he's always breaking or attacking a broken target. And then it just gives himself like a really nice Max Brave up buff, right? So pretty basic attack there, not too crazy. Let's go ahead and just attack again, get through with Lunafreya, and then we're going to show off Aura Cannon. And then I should be getting close to being able to pop his EX, so we'll definitely want to get that off as well. So let's go ahead and Aura Cannon. Once again, I really like this attack. Wow, it's going to do a big battery, watch, and it's going to be scaled on the damage he does, and then there it is, fat battery at the end. So really, really like that. And once again, it's defense ignoring, so the numbers are going to be feeling really good. He's going to be doing good damage there, and then getting that big fat battery off on the party. So I love that, right? Sure, we got the Furious Blades. Let's do it. Why not? All right, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get Sabin's EX off, and then we're going to power charge into his force and see what we can do there. Now, this isn't the normal run that I do showcases on, so I'm just going to really hope that these enemies don't mess with me too much. I know if I get into a threshold here with Clouded Darkness, I think she's going to bum rush me and start attacking, which that could be annoying. So if we end up dying, that'll be unfortunate, but I would have to like hop in and... You know what? If I die, I'll revive with gems. I'll do that for you guys, right? If we die. Let's go ahead and pop off Phantom Rush here. So let's hit that. Once again, this has a plus version. I do believe that comes from that same buff that gives him the plus versions of his other skills. Let's see what the damage looks like here. Oh, we got to launch with it. So the damage is going to be a little bit exemplified here. But yeah, that was almost 2 mil with the launch. Most of that came from Sabin. So that was probably like a 1.5 mil shot we just did there. So on the EX, ignores defense like everything else, right? Upkeeps 2 stacks of that first buff we talked about, which doesn't matter because with the LD buff, he's always... Like, we can look at Sabin here, right? Look, LD buff, still at 5. He's taken a bunch of turns. He just upkeeps it. Right here, Battle Spirit Unleashed, max stacks, it just stays there. It's like such a nice combo. The LD is so important for him because he just keeps his buffs all the time, right? Kind of crazy. We'll go ahead. I am going to start energy healing here. But what else we got from the EX is he got a buff called Entrusted Techniques from that. So it is a unique buff to his EX. Gives him an attack up, gives him overflow stolen. And it does enchant himself for Wind and Holy. I wish it party enchanted. So hopefully... if Sabin, and I don't think on JP Sabin's gotten a BT, but I'm hoping whenever he gets his BT that they upgrade that to dude, if they upgrade that to a party, Wind and Holy Enchant, then his force is actually going to be like really good, like one of the better forces in the game. Because at that point, all you're bringing is non-elementals, and it's just as easy as a Roha. You just attack and you get it, right? So Sabin, I think in the future could be good. Someone, if there's a JP player out there that knows if Sabin has his BT, let me know if they did that. But I'm pretty sure he hasn't gotten his BT yet. I could be wrong. And then on the EX, it just does imperils both elements. So once again, it's just a nice big fat attack, and he's getting that nice buff from it. So you do want to use that when it pops up. All right, so Luna Freya, let's keep going to town here. Actually, I think I do. Oh, I'm already forced up. Never mind. What am I doing? I don't even need to do anything. So what I'm going to do is I want to do a little bit of setup here. So let me see. Machina's on the quick prayer side. Sabin's on the heavy prayer side. And if I LD, I'm just going to do both anyways. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to, because I don't want to use her LD attack right now. I don't think. So I'm just, well, I probably will. Yeah, let's heavy prayer on Machina because he's already on the quick side. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is I am going to pop off Fujin Call. So this is going to be my Wind Enchant. And this is a party Wind Enchant call. Okay, so we're going to throw that on. And then I'm going to go, oh shoot, no, I don't want to LD because I don't want to go a bunch of turns. So, oh yeah, this is fine, this is fine. Yep, and we'll just do an attack. That's fine. Let's just attack through. Hopefully the enemies don't do anything too nasty here. Clouded Darkness is getting close to threshold. We actually just took some damage there. We'll have to be pretty careful here. Like I said, if we die, I'll Gem Revive just to keep it going. Although it might mess up my force gauge. I think if you Gem Revive, they put you at 100%. Alright, I'm going to attack this enemy over here. Okay, and then he's got to do his stuff, but I got to wait a turn. And the call on Luna Freya is 6 turns. That's actually nice that it has that. And Luna Freya got... Luna Freya, here's what I'm going to do, actually. I am going to summon, because I just don't want to die here. So let's just pop the summon. And then what we'll do is we'll just pop that off here. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll just Furious Blades here. I just want to show off the force and see if we can get 60% with Machina. That's all I want to show here. We already messed it up earlier because I used this burst too early, right? Okay, so Sabin, let's pop the force now. We should be able to pop that mid-summon, yep. And then Sabin doesn't have any calls I need to use. Sure. So let's go ahead and pop it off. His partner is 8, which makes sense. They're very fisty, very punchy. They like to do a lot of hand-to-hand combat. Alright, so let's see how much damage we get out of this. Alright, that was good damage. 1.5 mil AoE. Alright, so now basically it's 30% for wind damage, 30% for holy. If you can hit both at the same time, you should get 60. Luna Freya getting paralyzed is fine. Do they? Oh, and they do charge you a turn. That is nasty. Charge the force time turn when we do that. So let's go ahead with Sabin here. And sure, let's pop off another EX since I have it. Sure. Now this should do 60%. Because Sabin is hitting both elements. So let's double check and see that we're getting that. Okay, and yep, 63%. Perfect. Now the trick is can we get it with Machina? Now with Machina, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop Holy Enchant, and I think it's actually from Saint's Blast. Let me double check. Yes. So we're going to do Saint's Blast. We're going to get Holy Enchant, and then he should be getting the Wind Enchant still from Fujin. So let's see if we can't get Machina here. And this should do 30%, because this itself should be Holy, right? Yep, 30% from the call. All right, and then we're going to go ahead. And so ideally what you would do, right, if you did this properly, let's just actually attack and make sure this actually works. All right, and let's see if we get 60%. We did. We got 60%. Perfect. So essentially, if you want to take advantage of this, it's not accessible to everyone, right? You have to have the right calls. I think Fujin is basically the win call you have to have. Or you could run Fujin in party, right? You could run one of these guys in party. But then you need the Holy Enchant. The thing that's odd is Kuja's whole deal is Holy Enchant, but he actually doesn't do it on his calls. Like, so it would be really nice if the calls did. I think it's because he gets it from his overhead, and then it's not actually tied to the call, to the attacks from the call. I think that's why Paladin and Cecil's the same way. I think his was from his AA, which technically isn't on one of his call attacks. So Holy Enchant's actually a little bit tough to find, but I had it on Theodore there. The nice thing, guys, is Theodore is very accessible because you don't need the LD. It's just on his normal call. So if you just have Theodore, which it should be, everybody can get the character for free, right? You just have to make sure he's Crystal level 80. So get Wind Enchant, whether it be through a character in the party or a call. Get that Theodore call on the actual non-elemental damage character attacking. And then what I would have done here, had I not messed up, is I would have like popped the call, then gone into Machina burst phase, and then Machina basically would have been going crazy through his burst phase 60% every time. Actually getting quite close to like what Cam does. Cam still does more, but 60% a shot with Machina, you're going to get a lot of damage out of that, right? Like by the end of it, you're going to be like over 600%. You're going to do some nice damage there. So that's basically it, guys. That's Sabin. But let's go ahead and we'll finish out the force time. We'll just go ahead and do this. Luna Frey is going to be an L for this. It's just going to say that right now because she's just doing ice damage. So yeah, just like a 10% pity there. That's fine. All right, and yeah, Luna Frey almost dying. That's fine. I want to try to get at least 1 or 2 more attacks with Sabin here before we get killed. Oh yeah, and then the Gaze Death. That's fine. You can take it. We'll get 1 more attack with Sabin here. So I do have these HP attacks. You really aren't going to have to use these, but they're there. So they're going to have Wind Holy damage on them. And it's just like a little attack. It does extend the Fighting Tiger buff, but you're already doing that if you're attacking. So here's an instance where you'd want to use this, right? Because Fighting Tiger, that's the big LD buff, right? If you're in a situation for whatever reason that you can't break the target and you can't do brave damage to a broken target, you could hit this HP plus because that'll at least extend the turn of the buff, right? And then he's got a brave attack version of it as well. And same thing. Let's just finish off the video. Let's just pop one of those and see how much damage we do. Okay, yeah, just pretty weak. I mean, it looked really good because of the force type. But yeah, just a little attack extends the Fighting Tiger buff, but you really shouldn't have to use those, right? So anyways, guys, let me know what you think of Sabin. I think he's actually a really good character. I get why people wouldn't want to summon right now, and I still don't recommend you summon because we got Tifa coming. We got Renoa coming. Gladio's coming like right around the corner, right? I even like Gao. Like Gao's coming back. I think Gao's a really good, like with Dare to Defy, like looming as a possibility. And even with just other lockout events, I feel like you can't have too many counter characters. Like counter, like defensive characters are so valuable. I just want more of them. Like when I did the first Dare to Defy, like I used up all my counter tanks and I wanted more. And I've got like all the counter tanks built, right? So give me Gladio, give me Gao, give me all that. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think of Sabin. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.